Alright, so for our first game we are up against Cyber Dragons. They do some kind of weird lines, but in general it's a pretty good display of what the deck's trying to do. Let's get started. So our two interactions this game are going to be Infinite Impermanence. Imperm is not the single strongest thing. It doesn't destroy, and often nowadays you kind of want to negate and destroy to stop something. Otherwise people just use it for materials even if its effects are negated. But when you have two of them, that's often not too bad. So the first Imperm makes them end on just a Cyber Dragon Infinity, which is a negate, but we save our second Imperm so that we can negate them at the start of our turn, turns off their negate so they can't stop us. We have no idea what their set card is, but apparently it's nothing too bad because they haven't done anything to us yet. They also haven't used the card in hand, so we're looking pretty good. I go into a couple of negates here because I'm scared of them having like a Nibiru they've been sitting on. I don't know if that's a mirror force or something because they haven't used it yet. And here we figure out that it is a spell card Monster Reborn targeting Cyber Dragon Nova to bring it back so that they can stop one of our attacks and do a bunch of stuff on their next turn, this turn now. We stop that with Totem Bird because they only have two cards in hand, and then we stop their Therian King Regulus with our Crystal Wing, and that's enough that they just call it. So just a good example of kind of like a similar powered deck. Maybe, I don't know, Cider might be a little bit weaker than us, but they're kind of similar power levels. They're decks that have kind of withstood the test of time, but do show their age a little bit. And we go second, and because of, just opening a couple disruptions, we managed to build a significant board. Shen is actually really, really good against this deck once we get it established. Two negates and a destruction's pretty good, so, we take this one. Alright, so for our next game we are going up against Runic, and we have lost the die roll, which is not particularly good for anyone, but our hand's looking pretty good. Let's get started. So, Runic Fountain comes down. Of course they had it in hand, they always have it in hand, and then they're going to cycle through some stuff, banish a couple of cards. They hit Kashtira of Birth at the start, which we would care more about if we had opened the Kashtira engine itself. They're going to search more stuff. They banish a Fenrir here. Again, we don't have the Kashtira engine, so we don't really care. But we can start doing our own thing with the virtual worlds. We have a ton of them in hand, so we start sending things to the graveyard. They haven't actually pulled the trigger on any disruption yet. They're actually going to sit here and wait until we try to do anything to the fountain before they do anything. We can't actually build a one-turn lethal board when they have a card on the field just to block. So we will have to play a game of Yu-Gi-Oh! For a little bit, unfortunately, against Runic. So we go to battle, we swing with everything, they still don't pull the cord on anything. So we have enough materials to try and get rid of the Runic Fountain here. So I'm going to pause so I can explain what the hell is happening right now, because we've got a 5-card chain. So we activate the Chushe targeting Runic Fountain on our turn, because all of our stuff can be used on our turn and then on the opponent's turn. Figure it gives us 2 shots at getting rid of it. So in response, they're going to use Destruction to blow up Chushe. We can't protect that on this board, we don't really care, but chaining to that, I will use Crazy Beast to try and eat the fountain. If you don't know how Runic works, if you can get Fountain off of the field, the deck grinds to a halt and basically loses the game. If they keep Fountain, they gain insurmountable advantage every single turn. So we are desperately trying to fight to get this thing off field. We made a Shen earlier because it means that any spells they do play will get banished instead of going to the graveyard, and they want spells in the graveyard to draw extra cards off of Fountain. So we're looking okay, but they happen to have so much disruption in hand that they can deal with first the Chushe, and then they also use Freezing Curse to turn off Goblin's Crazy Beast, and then just insult to injury, Flashing Fire to destroy Shen. That is catastrophic. So the entire game is pretty much decided in this chain right here. So we lose Shen. Both of our attempts to get rid of Fountain are destroyed. They shuffle 2 in and get 2 cards to hand. We gotta pass. So at this point we're really just hoping they bricked. And of course they didn't. They have a Dark Ruler no more and a Search. So our Shen's turned off, so they can just put everything in the graveyard and cycle it back in. They're going to go through, I think, 3 Runic Fountains on this turn. This is why it is limited to 1 in Master Duel, because being able to just cycle through them and get draw 3 after draw 3 is not okay, in my opinion, and a lot of people's opinion. But that's what they do here. They also have a Sky Striker package. I'm not sure how robust, but they're going through stuff that lets them draw even more cards and get even more disruption. And interestingly enough, this deck really can't beat someone in one turn. They can't actually even get over any of our monsters here, so we get an extra turn with Shen Shen intact. Unfortunately, they have a Runic Freezing Curse in hand because they drew 6 million cards to turn off Shen Shen so that they can continue to draw more cards. So we get a turn, we just don't have a whole lot we can really do at this point. We've got starters, we've got extension, we can actually bring Crazy Beast back for free. We cannot bring back the Shen Shen because it was destroyed this turn. You have to wait until the next turn. We make a spell negate and we start swinging, but we can't attack with Wolf Riot because they went through a Kaina earlier. Go into a Zeus, we can wipe the board once and pray for the best, but they got 6 cards in hand. It's not looking too great for us with 5 cards left in deck because Runic is a mill deck. So they are not trying to beat us in combat, they are just trying to get rid of our entire deck, and with 6 cards that's going to prove trivial to them. So we do end up losing this game, but I wanted to include it because it's a very good one that shows that even against this like really strong deck, we kind of had them on the ropes between Shen Shen and all of our ways to get rid of Fountain. It really shows how good we are at dealing with these continuous spell-based decks. So we scoop it up because they play the last card needed to mill the last card in our deck, so we are going to lose on our next draw phase. But it's a really good example of just what we're trying to do. Had we gone first, this would have been a very different game, and had they drawn exactly 1 less interruption in the early couple of turns, this would have been a very different game. So, it was Razor's Edge who won this one, and so, good game. I don't care if I won it. I want to show it to you. Alright, and for our last game we are up against Gimmick Puppets. So I hate Gimmick Puppets. Any deck that has a card that just says, hey, you are not allowed to interact with me in any meaningful way, shape, or form is on my shit list. So they Ash our starter here. Our hand's kinda bad, but we have the Droll, we have an Imperm, we have Unicorn. So that's 3 disruptions to pass to them. We know it's Gimmick Puppets right off of the bat because of Unicorn. Unfortunately, they hand destruction away our Droll, and so all we have is the Imperm and the Unicorn, but Unicorn's pretty good against them because we can take out their 1 of Gimmick Puppet of Dark Strings, and their 1 of Gimmick Puppet Giant Grinder, which are 2 cards that are very difficult to beat. Dark Strings is for OTKs, and Giant Grinder would destroy our Unicorn pretty easily and do a bunch of damage to us. But they still establish a board through what we've got. Let's see what we can do. So we've got Desires to refill our hand, which is pretty cool. We can activate Chushe because now we have some stuff banished to actually use Chushe. And then we just start summoning stuff. So what we're trying to do is get rid of Mansion of the Dreadful Dolls because it is the thing that makes all of their stuff unaffected by anything we do. They know that, so they are doing their level best to keep us off of 2 6s, which is our answer to the Mansion of the Dreadful Dolls. Thankfully, we have taken out their best ways of actually destroying our cards. So we go into a Wolf Riot, and it just keeps getting bigger and bigger with everything they do, and they can't get it off the field here. So they go into Gimmick Puppet of Strings, which gets rid of it on our end phase, so it's a very slow destruction, but that's really their answer to a 4,000 body at this point. So it spins back around to us and we start comboing again. This time they really don't have much in the way of disruption outside of the Fantastics Machinex. So we manage to put some bodies on board. We don't get to 2 6s still. So we go into Jaja instead, and allows us to swing, get rid of one of their guys, and go into a Zeus. So Zeus is an Xyz monster, which means it can actually interact with what Gimmick Puppets is doing. So we unfortunately only have 1 activation, so we have to be super, super particular about when we use it. But they go into something that would be able to destroy our Zeus, so we are forced to use it. They got 6 cards in hands. They search up another Mansion of the Dreadful Dolls. It's not looking great for us. but they're going to make one fatal error here. So they're just kind of spinning their wheels with what they have left in their extra deck. You can see they only have 5 cards now, 4, and so they're just kind of trying to kill us somehow. They get greedy. They make a Fantastics Machinex, and they're going to use its effect to reborn and destroy our Kashtira Unicorn. That is a fatal flaw because when one of our cards is destroyed, Zeus can add another material and detach to wipe the board again. They have less than 3,000 life and they have nothing to do, so they get killed. They probably won that game if they did not get greedy and try to bring something back and blow it up to do damage to us. I think they were trying to close out the game that turn, but they really didn't have to because our hand was completely empty. They probably just got worried because they're running out of extra deck stuff that they can go into. But they bring back Unicorn, blow it up, triggers Zeus, gets us another material, wipes their board, kills them. So that was a pretty good and fun and very back and forth swingy game. Cool. Cool.